Brook Drum, Printrbot.com. This is our paste extruder. Now, I do want to give you a disclaimer right off the bat that this is for advanced users. Imagine all the variables. So we've got our syringe here, that's not going to change, but what you put in this thing is really up to you. So you're going to be experimenting with all different types of materials, with all types of different viscosity, just like a fancy word I had to look up. It means how easy it comes out that hole at the end. And you might choose to use a needle, you might choose to use a really thick extrusion, so you're going to clip this off. A lot of moving targets in paste printing. So just want to warn you, we'll go through a little tutorial here in a second, but this is for advanced users. It's a lot of fun, but it's hard. You ready?
Go ahead.
Hey, this is Brook Drum and Printrbot.com. This is our paste extruder, 220 bucks, and what a steal, because you will be able to print in materials that you could never print with before. I've already got this tucked in here. This has a heater, has a couple of neat little features that are different. Now, I'm actually cheating because I've started here already assembled. If you've ordered this, you're going to have to follow the instructions and get the firmware reloaded, add some new stuff here. It adds a Z Max ENDSTOP, so we can manually set where we're going to start later. Of course, you're using the heater if you want to, so that's wired in. We've got an E, or extruder, min and max to keep the machine from destroying itself. Now, you can't really use that mid-print. If you're printing, you run out of material, it's all the way at the bottom, it's going to just stop and start doing weird things. But when you're loading your filament or changing out after one print into another, this max E is really cool because it'll just retract a whole bunch on your extruder and it'll find the top and stop. So that's where we're at. So anyway, we're starting having this already put together and you've done all your firmware reload. So what is it like to get this to print? Well, first off, you can see that this extruder only has a stopper here. I'm trying to dig it out. And normally it comes attached to this plunger. So you are going to have to pry that off, fill this with material, and let's just pretend it's frosting. Okay, so I squeezed my frosting in there. I've got all the air out I could. I've put the tip on that I wanted to put on, and you got all kinds of choices there. And I've squeezed this down, trying to get all the air out of the frosting and whatnot, and I'm ready to load this. I'm not going to use my heater. You don't really need to heat up your frosting. So it's going to lock into place. I've already got my extruder plunger is actually retracted to the top because there's a little plunger in here. It's going to push down the tube. So that's how you load it. Now, lots of variables to talk about. Let's talk about settings here in just a second. But it takes the home to the top of Z, so I'm going to manually set my home position. So I'm going to actually control it here. So here we are, and I'm going to go down with Z until I reach the top of where I want to print. We've got some examples here of stuff we printed with wall compound, and I printed those on the bed, but imagine there's a cake here, and I need to just bring it down to just over the top of where I want this to squirt out frosting. And because in your settings, in your slice, you're going to tell it, hey, reset X, Y, Z, E, everything. It's actually G92, X0, Y0, Z0, E0. You'll put that in the beginning of your starting G-code. So here's where I wanted to start. We've already loaded this G-code. The only other changes in CURA I want to tell you about is the filament size will actually be not 1.75 like a plastic extruder. This particular syringe is 27 millimeters measured across the inside of the tube. That's the filament size that you're going to put in. And this particular tip is actually going to be 1.5 millimeters. So I put that in. I've erased my beginning G-code. I've added the G92, X0, Y0, Z0, E0. And that's going to tell, oh, and I'm also going to go into CURA, which is what I am slicing in for this. And in machine settings, under machine settings, I'm going to set the machine center to 0, 0. It's just going to start from the center. So I'm going to find the center of my cake, literally putting it manually where I want it. And then I'm going to start to print. Please. Yeah! So, brief overview of our paste extruders.